What's up, guys? It's Enigma Hood. A woman was fired for being too sexy. Apparently this goes back to last year, but only now is the case up for appeal. Apparently the Supreme Court is going to re-review the case. But to give you some background, watch this video.
This is the dentist who fired his longtime assistant because he says she was too attractive. She has had a spotless employment record. She says she had no romantic interest in him at all, but the judges backed the boss.
Imagine being fired because you're just too sexy. That's what 32-year-old Melissa Nelson says happened to her. After working as a dental hygienist for 10 years for dentist James Knight, he fired her because he said she was a threat to his marriage.
I'm devastated. I really am.
Nelson says she was shocked when she learned her 53-year-old boss said he was afraid he would try to start an affair with her. But what some find even more shocking, on Friday, the all-male Iowa Supreme Court unanimously agreed with the dentist, ruling 7-0 that employers can give an employee their walking papers if they believe there is an irresistible attraction.
After working so many years side by side, I didn't have any idea that that would have crossed his mind.
Both Knight and Nelson are married with children. She says she looked at her employer as a father figure until the last few months of her employment when he started complaining her clothes were too tight. He also reportedly commented on her infrequent sex life, saying that's like having a Lamborghini in the garage and never driving it. The hygienist sued for gender discrimination, arguing if she were male, she'd still have her job.
I think the women in Iowa should probably start going to work in burqas for fear that their boss might find them sexually attractive and terminate them.
Knight's lawyer gave this statement to ABC News. Nelson was not terminated because of her gender, but to preserve the best interest of his marriage. This isn't the first time someone's been fired for being too hot. Deborah Lee Lorenzana, a former Citibank employee, claims she lost her job back in 2009 because her bosses found her looks too distracting.
The worst feeling was knowing that HR was not there to help me, but to help Citibank.
Citibank insists Lorenzana was terminated for poor job performance. But in Nelson's case, she says the real reason she got the axe is because Knight's wife, who also worked in the office, discovered texts between Nelson and Knight. Nelson says those texts were innocent, but the dentist's wife demanded she be fired.
I think it's sending a message that men can do whatever they want in the workforce.
All right, first of all, the biggest threat to that dude's marriage is that dude's face. I don't know how the fuck he got married in the first place. Either his wife is butt ugly, or he has money. And, you know, he's a dentist, so I guess he makes money. Look, you can't fire your fucking nurse or your secretary or whatever just because you want a boner. Okay? You can't do that. That's discrimination. That's not right. She can't control being a sexy fucking woman. That's discrimination. Well, you might be saying, well, Enigma Hood, she could not wear such sexy makeup. First of all, what kind of fucking, like, how can you make yourself, whenever you go out into public, you have to make yourself look ugly? What is this, like Saudi Arabia, where you have to cover yourself in a fucking burqa? Should she cover her entire face and only show the eyes? I mean, come on. What the fuck is up with that? No. And like he was saying, like she's wearing sexy clothing. Come on, scrubs. I mean, maybe like when she walks into the office, she's like wearing her fucking short ass skirt and her fucking high heels and the blouse with her boobs hanging out. But I really doubt it. I mean, maybe it's possible, but she changes into the scrubs pretty fast. But you know, whatever. I don't get a turn on from a girl in scrubs. I don't know about you guys. Maybe you're into some kinky fucking shit, but not me. I mean, she's a good-looking woman. I'd definitely have sex with her. But, I mean, she's a soccer mom, too. I mean, I can tell she's a fucking soccer mom. I mean, you know, some soccer moms you definitely want to fuck, but, I mean, she's not a supermodel or anything. So you're telling me that this fucking big-nosed freak can't keep his dick in his pants? And he's trying to tell me that he might have an affair with her? I have a hard time believing anyone would want to fuck that big-nosed freak. I mean, he is so ugly. I mean, maybe he has money. That might be the only silver lining here. I mean, maybe that's the thing that I'm not seeing, but he's fucking hideous. I mean, if he can get laid, fuck, any of us can get laid. Shit. Where are these women that who want to fall over this big-nosed freak? I mean, I want to meet them, especially if they're as beautiful as this soccer mom is. I mean, shit. Anyway, I want to know what those texts say. I'm kind of curious about it. Apparently, his wife found these texts so alarming. I mean, but she's saying they're innocent. Okay, well, I mean, we're not being shown what the texts actually say, so that can kind of change things, because if it is true that she's reciprocating Big Nose's sexual advances, then that could be, yeah, a reason. But then it's his fault too, you know? I mean, he can't fire her because he is attracted to her and she's reciprocating. That's not her fault. You know, so that's kind of a gray area. I'm not really sure what to do in that situation. But if she did not reciprocate, I can say this without any shadow of a doubt. If she was not reciprocating, if he was trying to, if he was putting the moves on her, and she wasn't reciprocating, she was having none of it, then that, by the way, that's sexual harassment. He should be the one that's getting in trouble if he made sexual overtures towards her. However, maybe that wasn't the case, and he was just keeping quiet, and he had a big fucking boner every time he's doing dental work, and like the woman's like putting that thing in your mouth. You know, I went to the dentist the other day, actually. This is so ironic. So she's putting the thing in your mouth, and you're like, ugh, and then they're like doing like little cat talk. I mean, literally, the hygienist and the fucking dentist were doing work on my mouth, and they were having cat talk, and they're like making jokes and talking about their plans for the weekend and shit, like. And they're like asking me, what do I think about it? And I'm like, I don't want to talk to you people. You have shit in my mouth. And I want to get the fuck out of here as soon as possible. I don't want to know you people. I don't want to talk to you. You guys are having like a fucking conversation. What the fuck is going on here? All I want is to get my teeth clean and get the fuck out of here. Okay? But it's never that fucking simple. So I want to know what these texts say, because that could change things. Aside from that, is this gender discrimination? Technically, it's not. It's discrimination, but there is no label. We don't have a label for this kind of discrimination. When you can't help, oh man, my dick is so big right now. I can't help myself. What kind of discrimination is that? We don't have a category for that, and that's a flaw in our legal system. It has nothing to do with there's nothing wrong with this. No, there's obviously something wrong with this. That's why that fucking Iowa Supreme Court, or wherever the fuck this place is taking place in, that's why they're reviewing the case again, even though they unanimously agreed that this is unfair but legal. That's bullshit if you ask me. And by the way, if anyone tries to call me a hypocrite for saying that this is wrong, but firing that teacher for doing bikini modeling, okay, it's a completely different situation. Completely different. That woman was a teacher. She's responsible for students. She's supposed to set a good example and shit like that. This is a fucking hygienist or some shit. You know, cleans fucking teeth. I don't give a fuck if she does bikini modeling or if she's really sexy. And by the way, she's just really sexy. If a teacher was just really sexy and, you know, couldn't help herself just being sexy, and she was fired for that, I'd oppose that too. Okay? Doing bikini modeling and looking sexy just because you can't help it are two separate fucking things. Now, it's one thing if she shows up to work in like a fucking thong and high heels and nothing else. That's one thing. But obviously, you know, that's not the case here, alright? But I want to know what you guys think. Is this fair or not fair? I think it's pretty unanimous what the answer will be, but I'm kind of curious. Maybe some people will see an angle to this that the rest of us are not seeing. Anyway, this is Enigma Hood signing off.